Imagine someone breaking your leg on purpose, not by accident, not in a moment of rage they later regret, but deliberately, slowly, to prove a point, to prove that they own you, that your body belongs to them, that you are nothing more than property. What would you do? Scream? Beg? Break down completely? This man said nothing of the sort. As the bone cracked under his master's grip, he looked up, calm, almost amused, and said quietly, "I told you it would break." No tears, no hatred, no plea for mercy, just a stillness so complete it unnerved everyone in the room. Who was this man? Not a warrior, not a philosopher living in some marble palace, insulated from suffering by wealth and privilege, not someone with any power whatsoever to protect himself. He was a slave, legally owned by another human being. He had no family name, no property, no freedom to walk out the door without permission. His very name, Epictetus, was not a real name at all. In Greek, it simply means acquired, like a piece of furniture, like something you pick up at the market. And yet, from this man, not from the emperors, not from the generals, not from the celebrated and the powerful, came a philosophy that has been read continuously for nearly 2,000 years, a philosophy about what it actually means to be free, not free in the way we usually think about it, something far more radical than that. Rome, 90 A.D. In a small, plain room on the outskirts of the city, the old man sat on the floor surrounded by his students. His left leg was bent at a wrong angle, a permanent reminder of a night when his master decided to demonstrate a point about power. He had been brought to Rome as the slave of Epictetus, a powerful freedman in the court of Emperor Nero. At some point, the exact circumstances are lost to history, he was freed. He made his way to Greece, set up a school in the city of Nicopolis, and began to teach. Word spread. Young men from wealthy Roman families traveled across the sea to sit at his feet. One of them, a brilliant student named Arion, was so struck by what he heard that he wrote it all down, nearly word for word, and published it as 8 books of discourses and a short summary he called the Enchiridion, a Greek word meaning handbook, or in its earliest usage, a small dagger you keep on your person at all times, something you carry not for display but for survival. That book, that small dagger of a book, is what we're talking about today, and the man who inspired it, the freed slave with the broken leg who taught Roman aristocrats and influenced emperors, left behind something that no one could take from him. Not his master, not Caesar, not time itself, a way of seeing the world that makes you, regardless of your circumstances, genuinely, completely, unassailably free. The one distinction that changes everything. Epictetus begins not with poetry, not with a story, but with a line so simple it almost seems too obvious to bother writing down. He says, "Some things in this world are up to us, and some things are not." That's it. That's where he starts. Up to us, our judgments, our desires, our fears, our responses, the stories we choose to believe about what happens to us. Not up to us, our bodies, our reputations, our money, our status, what other people think of us, whether we get sick, whether we get the promotion, whether the person we love decides to stay. Read that second list again. Everything society tells us to spend our lives chasing: wealth, status, approval, security, the guarantee that the people we love will never leave. None of it is actually up to us. Not fully, not ever. And here is where Epictetus makes his central argument, the one that sounds cold until you really sit with it. Almost every form of human suffering comes not from what happens to us, but from our insistence on trying to control things that were never ours to control in the first place. We work ourselves into the ground trying to secure things we cannot guarantee. We tie our sense of worth to outcomes we cannot determine. We hand the keys to our inner peace to circumstances that can change without warning, and then we are devastated when they do. This is not a character flaw. It is a fundamental confusion about the nature of reality, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. It is never the event. It is always the story. Epictetus says something that modern psychology would spend centuries rediscovering. It is not things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about things. He puts it plainly: death is not terrible in itself. If death were inherently terrible, it would have appeared that way to Socrates, and it didn't. What is terrible is the opinion that death is terrible, the story we build around it, the meaning we assign to it before it even arrives. Think about two people who lose their jobs on the same day. Same company, same reason, same circumstances. The first person falls apart. In their mind, it becomes a catastrophe, proof that they are a failure, evidence that the world is against them, a source of shame they carry into every conversation. They are not suffering from unemployment. They are suffering from the narrative they have constructed around unemployment. The second person acknowledges what happened. They feel the sting of it. But then they ask a different question. Not why did this happen to me, but what is actually within my power right now. They cannot control the decision that was made about them, but they can control what they do next, how they show up tomorrow, who they decide to become in response to this. Same event, completely different inner lives, not because one person is stronger or luckier or more resilient by nature, but because one person understood something the other did not, that the event itself is neutral. It is the story you attach to it that determines whether it destroys you or shapes you. This is what Epictetus means when he says, whenever you are disturbed, look inward, not outward. The disturbance is never coming from outside. It is always coming from a judgment you have made, and a judgment is something you can revise. Everything you love is on loan. There is a practice Epictetus teaches that sounds cruel the first time you encounter it. He says, when you kiss your child goodnight, say quietly to yourself, this child might be gone by morning. When you embrace the person you love most, hold the awareness, this may be the last time. His students were horrified. This is morbid, they said. This is inhuman. Epictetus looked at them steadily and replied, what is inhuman is believing that the people you love belong to you permanently, and then being shattered when the universe asks for them back. Everything in this world, he taught, is borrowed. Your children are on loan to you. The people you love, on loan. Your health, on loan. Your health, on loan. Your mind, your memory, your ability to walk across a room without pain, all of it on loan. Even your body, the one thing that feels most essentially yours, will one day have to be returned. And when that time comes, he said, don't say I have lost something. Say I have returned it, because that is the truth of what is happening. Now, before you close yourself against this, hear what he is actually saying underneath it. He is not asking you to love less. He is asking you to love more completely, to be more present, to stop deferring the attention and care and full presence that the people in front of you deserve, because you have unconsciously assumed there will always be more time. There won't always be more time. And the person who knows this, who has genuinely absorbed this, does not experience it as a source of dread. They experience it as a kind of grace. Every ordinary moment with the people they love becomes suddenly enough, more than enough. The awareness of impermanence is not a shadow cast over life. It is what makes the light visible at all. The two chains you don't know you're wearing. Epictetus teaches that there are two forces that enslave human beings more effectively than any master ever could, and almost no one recognizes them for what they are. The first is desire directed at things outside our control, the belief that happiness lives somewhere ahead of us, conditional on getting something we don't yet have. I'll be at peace when I get the promotion. I'll feel like enough when I have that kind of money. I'll be happy when everyone finally sees my worth. The problem is not wanting things. The problem is the location of the wanting. When you place your happiness inside an outcome you cannot guarantee, you have handed your emotional life to something that may never arrive, or may arrive and disappear just as quickly. You have made yourself a slave to results. The second chain is aversion, the desperate resistance to things we don't want to face. I cannot be sick. I cannot fail. I cannot survive if this relationship ends. But the things we most fear have a habit of arriving anyway. And when they do, we are devastated not just by the thing itself, but by the collapse of the story we told ourselves about how life was supposed to go. The solution Epictetus offers is not to stop wanting things. It is to redirect what you want toward the one territory you actually own. Don't want the promotion, you cannot guarantee it. Want to do your best work, that is entirely yours. Don't want everyone to love you. You cannot make that happen. Want to be someone genuinely worth loving, you can build that every single day. Don't want to never experience failure, that is not a real choice. Want to meet failure with dignity, that is always available to you. The moment your desires align with what is actually in your control, something extraordinary happens. There is nothing left that can defeat you. Not because nothing bad will happen. It will. But because the bad things no longer have authority over the part of you that matters most. The role you did not choose and must play brilliantly. Epictetus offers an image that is both humbling and, if you let it in, deeply liberating. Life, he says, is a play. You are an actor in it, but you did not write the script, and you did not choose your role. That was decided by someone else. Call it fate, call it circumstance, call it the particular accident of your birth into this family, this body, this era, this set of conditions. Your job is not to choose the role. Your job is to play it as well as it can possibly be played. If the playwright gives you the part of a poor man, play it with dignity. If the part is illness, or obscurity, or a life full of obstacles you didn't ask for, play it with everything you have, because the quality of your performance is the one thing that is entirely, completely, non-negotiably yours. Epictetus did not choose to be born a slave. He did not choose the master who broke his leg. He could not select his circumstances, his era, his starting point in life. But he chose one thing, every single day, in every situation, how he would show up inside the role he had been given, and that choice alone, made consistently and with complete conviction, turned a man who owned nothing into one of the most enduring voices in the history of human thought. You may not be able to choose your circumstances, but the quality of your character within those circumstances, that has always been yours. That has always been the only thing that ever was. The freedom that was never lost. Only forgotten, Epictetus closes his teaching with a paradox that takes time to fully land. Most people, he observes, believe that freedom is an external condition. Having enough money to do what you want. Having no one above you telling you what to do. Having a life that goes according to plan. But look more carefully at this kind of freedom, he says. If your peace depends on your bank account, then every market fluctuation is your master. If your sense of self depends on other people's approval, then every stranger's opinion has dominion over you. If your happiness is conditional on success, then you are enslaved to a standard that will always find new ways to move just out of reach. This is not freedom. This is a more sophisticated and invisible form of bondage, and it is all the more dangerous because the chains are ones you have chosen and continue to tighten yourself. Real freedom, Epictetus teaches, is an inner condition. It is the state of a person who has so clearly understood the distinction between what is theirs and what is not theirs that no external event can reach the core of who they are, not because they are numb, not because they don't care about the world, but because they have stopped asking the world to be different than it is in order to feel okay. Epictetus, the man with no legal status, no property, no name that was truly his own, and a leg that never healed properly, lived with more genuine freedom than the emperor who studied his words, not because his life was easier. It wasn't, but because he never, at any point, allowed what was happening to him to determine who he was. And this is what he leaves us with. Not a theory, not an argument to win in a debate, a practice, something to return to every single day in the middle of ordinary life, in the moments when it is hardest to remember. When something happens that disturbs you, pause before you react. Ask yourself, is this within my control? If it is, address it. If it is not, and most things are not, then the suffering you are adding to the situation is optional. It is something you are choosing, even if it doesn't feel that way. When you reach for something and it isn't there, ask yourself whether you have placed your peace inside an outcome that was never guaranteed. And if you have, ask what it would look like to want something closer to home, something that cannot be taken away, and when you are with the people you love most, be there, fully, without the half-attention, the distracted scrolling, the vague assumption that there will always be another chance to say what needs to be said. There may not be. The entire philosophy of a freed slave who changed the way emperors thought about power can be distilled into a single line, the line he used to begin his handbook, the one he returned to again and again throughout his teaching. Some things are up to us, and some things are not. Freedom begins the moment we know the difference, not when life finally cooperates, not when the conditions are right, not on the other side of everything you are currently carrying now. In the middle of exactly this, because freedom is not a destination. It is a way of seeing, and that way of seeing has always been and will always remain entirely up to you.